Good afternoon. As promised, I am going to do a sort of overview for English 1102 as it relates to the online component and the Blackboard Ultra, because I know since December or November, or basically last semester, last year, whenever you took a um, online course from us, you probably noticed that Blackboard has went through some changes. It looks a little bit different as the platform because now we're using Blackboard Ultra. So I'm just going to go briefly over where you can find some stuff, and hopefully everybody will be able to have a chance to look at that lecture video that I did a couple hours ago on the Chopin piece. So that with this video would be the only sort of two lecture videos I'm going to do for this week. Next week, keep in mind Monday is a holiday, so I'll probably do sometime next week. It'll probably be closer to Thursday, probably another lecture video as it relates to Modular 2, Week 2 stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. You should be able to see on your side um, how Blackboard is set up. On my end, it's going to show the courses that I'm teaching. On your end, it's going to show the courses that you are taking. Make sure that you're in the proper term, because sometimes depending on how many terms you've been in college, it may have a different term. So make sure that you're in the spring semester 2025, not in a different semester. So we're going to go ahead and go to the 1102 course, which you click here. You're going to find your textbook. If you click this down arrow where it says welcome, click here. Hopefully everybody got the email or the announcement that I sent out. I guess it was Saturday or Sunday last, welcoming everybody to the course. So if I do send an announcement and stuff, you can kind of look up here. There's a calendar, there's discussions, there's a grade book. It looks like several of y'all have already done some stuff. Announcements, if you click here, it's going to show some announcements. Some of these, and I'm not really sure why this is happening because this is not all. Um, I don't know why you have some of these for chapter 1, chapter 11. That doesn't refer to our course, so I don't know why this is going on like it is. It's really kind of crazy. Um, but I will have to figure out why it's doing that and see what's going on. But if I do post an announcement, it should go here. The other thing is it should go also to your Coastal Pines email account. And like I said in my previous lecture video, make sure that you're using the Coastal Pines email account that the college gave you. That way you can get the messages that I'm sending through Blackboard to you. If you look on your calendar, this is another way that you can kind of look at due dates. You can also click on the word due date and it will kind of tell you what is due, when it's due, that type deal. If something changes, I will email you or let you know through an announcement or both. But for the most part right now, unless there's just some sort of weather event or something, most due dates are probably going to be happening every Sunday or so. Um, so if you go to the grade book, your grade book's going to probably look different. As you can tell, um, there's 4 people that already done the assignment, which is good, I guess, because it's getting close to Sunday. And once you submit these, it should prompt me to grade them. So I will probably come back, hopefully in the next couple hours. I've got another hybrid class. This is good. I mean, this person's using Microsoft Word. You want to use Word. I'll show you how to go about styling this a little bit better because the paragraphs are not indented. You want to indent paragraphs. You don't want to keep everything left aligned. Um, Here's another one. You really want to double space everything instead of single space. So we talk a little bit about that. The other thing is when we're dealing with short fiction or short stories, you want to put quotation marks around the titles. You don't want to italicize. You only italicize films, dramas, movies, novels, that type deal. Make sure that you do have, in this case, your first and last name, my name, English 1102. You can abbreviate that ENGL 1102. And I would put the due date that the thing is due. So I would probably put it the 19th. And then make sure up here on every top right-hand corner, you have your last name and the page number. And if you quote from the particular work, you need to have a works cited on your second page. So make sure that because everybody's had English 1101. I'm assuming y'all did a research paper toward the end of that course. You should know how to cite as it relates, because when we cite novels, books, short stories, it's just like citing a journal article or something of that nature. So I'm assuming you already know how to cite based on from 1101, and that you know how to create a works cited page. So make sure that you're doing those, because otherwise you will be losing points if you don't. I probably won't take off so much this time because it is the first one, but technically you should be using the stuff you learned in 1101 and apply it to the assignments in 1102. Here, I mean, you can use the text box that's provided. I know some of y'all will do that. I would get to the habit of using Microsoft Word just so you can kind of get used to using the Word document, how to double space, how to use, 1-inch margins, the last name, first name, the header, because on your major assignments, the major stake assignments, the essays that you're going to have to do, you're going to have to upload your Microsoft Word documents for that for me to be able to grade. You're not just going to be able to go to the text box and just copy and paste your essay. So as it relates to these weekly assignments and weekly quizzes, that's fine. But again, if you're quoting, you still need to have a works cited page or a works cited entry. So you'd have to do that stuff down below. Make sure that you check for grammar and your punctuation. Here, we don't have a period, so that's basically like a run-on or a fragment. So you're going to be losing points for that. Make sure that you know how to use commas, because again, I'm assuming that in 1101, you should already know, 15 weeks worth of grammar. Even before that, K through 12th grade, high school, middle school, you learn how to use commas in second grade. So I would go ahead, make sure that you spell check, you grammar check, go beyond just the Microsoft editor, use Grammarly, use something that will help you. That's not AI and that will write it for you, because you don't want to get caught plagiarizing, and you will get caught plagiarizing if you use AI. We have ways to determine that. So make sure that because this is an English class, so spelling, grammar, punctuation, all that stuff's going to count. And make sure that you read the instructions to the assignment. We'll go back over and look at the assignment here momentarily, but make sure that you do read the directions on the assignment. Here's another one that's been sort of just either copied and paste from a Microsoft Word document into the text box. Again, I don't mind that you do this so much for these quizzes and stuff, but when it comes to the major essays, you really need to use the Microsoft Word program so you can format it correctly in the MLA9 style and upload it. All right, so let's go back, and I'll come back to grade these here. I should be able to, you should start seeing a grade for those that have turned these things in a little earlier by Sunday. If you sort of wait until the weekend, or if you wait closer to the deadline, which I really wouldn't wait too long, don't wait until 10 o'clock Sunday night really to do this. That's just me. I would work smarter, not harder. If you wait, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it might be later on next week before you'd actually get a grade on it. If you do it before Sunday, chances are you probably get a grade before, we come back for Tuesday. Okay, so we're going to go back to the content, click this arrow. Now on your end, it's probably going to show not everything that you see on mine, and that's fine, because some things are going to be up, visible, and some things are going to be hidden. Right now, you have that welcome to the course message that I also sent out. Again, my name is Mr. Wilson. I will be your English 1102 instructor until May 7th. That's when our last class technically is. This is where you find your simple syllabus, where you'll look at that here momentarily. This is your e-textbook. So if you click on it, if I give you any page numbers on your simple syllabus or on your modular pages in Blackboard, generally they're going to refer to this particular textbook. Again, it's free as long as you can access the internet anywhere in the world. You can pull up your textbook. Notice it's nearly 1,200 pages. Are we going to use and read all 1,200 pages? No. But some of your stories you're going to find in here. Some of the key terms and vocabulary that we use in English 1102, you're going to find in here. But we're not going to read the whole 1,200, almost 1,200 page book here. There's going to be some things that's not in your book that I provide hyperlinks or, a website or a handout to. So kind of keep in mind, like literary terms for poetry, we're probably going to use this book for that. For short stories, for novels, that type deal, drama, we're probably going to use this book for that. Being that it's free, the book is limited on some things. So the stuff that I think it's limited on, I'm going to give you, uploads of videos or web links, or I may just email the stuff to you. So that's another reason why you might want to check your email on a regular basis, just so that you have it. But that's where your textbook is going to be. You do have an MLA 9 handbook, which again, you should be familiar about how to style your essays in MLA 9 from English 1101. If not, you might want to go through the handbook and look at that. The handbook will also help you when it comes to quoting short stories, quoting poetry, and quoting drama. So as we get closer to writing that first paper, we will definitely look at how to do that a little bit more. You definitely probably want to watch Navigating Blackboard if you haven't already, or at least click on this. It'll probably go through a couple of different things that you can, look at, watch, review. Definitely go through this if this is your first time using Blackboard Ultra, because otherwise it could be a little confusing if you don't know what you're doing. So I would definitely go through this, watch the videos, take notes on it if you need to. The lockdown browser and monitor for all online courses, you're going to have to at least take one particular Respondus event. Usually for this particular class, it's going to be exam 2, which is going to be the poetry exam. That will probably happen about the second week of March. I'm going to give you additional information as we get closer to probably right after the middle of February, but you're going to have to make sure that you have a working webcam, a working web mic, that you have a college ID, that you have stable internet connections, and that you have stable and up-to-date computer. Because you're going to have to take basically, you're going to have 60 minutes to take an exam where we're going to record you. There's going to be a proctor. It's going to be watching you. You basically not going to be able to use too many notes or cheat sheets or anything like that. And for 60 minutes, you're just going to have to be able to complete that particular poetry exam. And basically, it's a one-time deal. It's one and done. You will be watched. You will be recorded. If things look suspicious, like if you're cheating or you're doing something that you're not supposed to, the exam will shut down, close out. They'll send me the video, and you automatically get a 0 on that particular exam, which hopefully that won't be the case. And like I said, as it gets closer to the end of February, I'll give you some more information about that. But you're going to have to do, if you're 100% online, it doesn't matter whether you're taking this course, a speech class, a music course. If you're taking an online course, you're going to have to do a Respondus type event or exam, either at midterm or as the final exam, or you may do it kind of earlier than the midterm or the final exam. It really is up to your instructor at that time. There's also tutor.com, and I'm going to go ahead and make this visible. If you want to use the online tutoring as it gets closer to submitting drafts of, let's say, the first essay, the second essay, or your research paper, you definitely would want to take advantage of that. I'm going to go ahead and open up the librarian live chat. That's going to be more useful when we get into the research paper, which with that, we're going to start talking about that probably before spring break, last week of March when we start to go to spring break. That particular research paper is going to be over the drama that we're going to do for the month of April. And that particular paper is going to need to be 8 to 10 pages in length. And you're going to have to at least have, probably 6 to 8 secondary scholarly sources where you're going to have to go to the library, whether it's the college library, public library, or if you're a dual enrollment student and you trust the sources in your own high school library, you're going to have to go to the library to get, at least 4 out of the 8 of those sources. But again, we'll talk a little bit more in the month of March as it relates to that particular assignment. The handbook, again, this is going to be helpful when it comes to, when you start citing and quoting stuff. So definitely take a look at this. It will basically show you also how to set up a MLA style paper. And I can show you where you can find the templates for that as well. I think I provide a website or a web link for that. But I will definitely help you how to get that set up. But as you can tell here, some of this stuff may go blurry a little bit. You may have to, download it to be able to be ad free, but it should be okay. Sometimes you just gotta wait a couple minutes for it to go through the whole process of being blurry. But this is better than purchasing this particular handbook, which anywhere from $20 on up. So I try to save you a little bit of money where I can as well. That's why we do the OER textbook as well, so it saves you a little bit of money. I would probably go ahead and open this too, because you should be able to click on it and it gives you some information, or it will give you some information. And I'll go ahead and make these visible. I would probably look at this stuff, especially, since week one is, it is kind of busy, but as it relates to this class, there's not a whole lot going on right now. So I would go ahead and make the habit of going through some of this stuff, because again, you don't want to be the student that this thing is due, let's say March 8th, and you're trying to go through all this stuff March 7th, and you're freaking out because you got 3 of these you got to do from 2 other, my class and 2 other courses. So I would definitely, take the time to go through some of this stuff now, and then come back and, kind of do a refresher if you need to. But that way it won't be sort of, brand new to you when it gets, 2 days before the exam or something is due. All right, so again, syllabus, we're going to look at the syllabus real quick. Click on it. I'm not going to read this verbatim to you, because I know if you're in 1102, you're pretty much you're a smart college student, I'm assuming at this point, because you passed 1101 with a C or higher. So I know that you know how to read. And I'm not going to sit here and bore you or, insult your intelligence for not being able to read. So this class, again, is pretty much online. Generally, deadlines are Sunday to Sunday, except for this week, it's Monday to Sunday since we started on Monday. But usually it's going to be Sunday to Sunday. The way the course is actually set up now, I think everything is sort of open. So the whole 15 weeks is open. But usually what I've done in the past is have, week 1 go up to about Thursday, and then the week 2 stuff would open up, or the module 2 will open up. I'm just going to kind of leave it open as it is. I know sometimes when students see 16 weeks worth of work, they get sort of overwhelmed. Keep in mind, you can work ahead a little bit if you feel comfortable with it, if you know what you're doing by, self-pacing and sort of being your own teacher at that point, if you do work ahead. I would, don't get too far ahead if you don't know what the hell you're doing, because then it's just going to be frustrating. And then you're going to have to go back. And if you haven't already turned stuff in, you're going to have to go back and redo things. And it's just going to be a big headache, not only on your end, but it's going to be probably kind of a headache on mine. But, again, your study techniques, what's going on in your life as it relates to outside of school or other classes. If you got kids like I do, wife, husband, whatever the case may be, you can work ahead a little bit. But keep in mind, don't start something if you just don't know what the heck you're doing. because otherwise you're just going to have to go back and redo it again. So that's just going to be a waste of time on your part. The other thing is you can sort of keep up with the class, meaning you could go Sunday to Sunday. That would be modular 1 or week 1. And then, continue to follow modular 2 or week 2. So the pacing is a little bit up to you. If you do go ahead, you're going to be kind of, until we get up there and I'm able to give maybe a lecture video, you're going to kind of be on your own until we're able to cross that bridge, because otherwise, unless you have something specific, I can answer in an email or a phone call, or, let's say that you come to one of my in-person tutoring sessions or a virtual tutoring session. You're pretty much going to be on your own if you work ahead a little bit until I'm able to get up to that point and help you out. So I'm going to have to probably change my schedule a little bit as it relates to in-person tutoring on Monday and Wednesday. And I'm going to see if I did that here already. I don't know if I did. So really, if you look here, we're looking at, we're going to do critical analytical reading and writing of fiction, poetry, drama. There's going to be, you're going to be writing about these types of literatures as it relates to the poems, the dramas, the plays, maybe some films. There's going to be a research paper aspect to it, which I already talked about. But as it relates to, again, you're taking a lot of stuff that you learned in English 1101 and previous English classes, and we're just going to sort of magnify that and enhance that with some of this new stuff. So there's not going to be a lot of review of English 1101. I'm just going to expect that you know how to do a research paper. I'm kind of going to expect that you know how to use Galileo, how to look for journal articles in library databases, how to check out books, how to do critical analytical writing, how to cite as it relates to, citing books and journal articles and that type of stuff using MLA 9. Grammar-wise, I'm going to expect that because you've already did K through 12 and you already did English 1101 with a C or higher, that you know how to proofread and edit your paper. That you know how to fix comma splices, that you know how to fix squinting modifiers or fragments or run-ons. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on grammar. If you are still struggling with spelling and grammar and that type of stuff, then you need to do some extra work on your end, meaning you need to probably go to a tutor, hire a tutor, come to the college, see me, see a different tutor, see somebody, if you know somebody, a family or friend, or if you're, dual enrollment student, go back and talk to your old English teachers from high school or something, YouTube videos, Khan Academy videos, whatever the case may be. But we're not going to stay, weeks on grammar. You should already know how to do proofreading and editing your own work at this point. Now, you can send me drafts of your essays. You can use tutor.com, which I'll show you where that is again. But as it relates to, learning how to punctuate a sentence correctly, I mean, you should have already known how to do that 3rd and 4th grade, really. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time with the grammar. If I start seeing, even on these discussion posts and stuff that you're sending, if I start seeing that you're having a lot of issues as it relates to editing and proofreading, I'm just going to say, hey, you need to go see a tutor, or otherwise, because your grammar and spelling's not up to par, because for whatever reason you didn't learn it the last 15 weeks in English 1101 or the last 12 years at public school, that you're going to start losing major points on essays and exams if you can't get your grammar and your spelling under control. Again, that's our textbook. This is some information, again, about respondents. Again, I would start reading and looking at this before March. And I will put a date here as it gets closer to when the actual exam, as it relates to the respondents event, will happen. Again, it's usually going to be, it's either going to be the poetry exam or it could be the poetry essay, but it's going to be dealing with that poetry unit. Generally, what we do here, because we do 5 weeks, right? You have the first 4 weeks, we're dealing with short fiction or short stories. Week 5 is when your essay 1 and exam 1 is going to be due. Then we take the next 4 weeks, we deal with poetry. So basically, weeks 6 through 9 would be nothing but poetry. And then weeks 10, you would basically have your exam 2, your poetry exam, and your poetry essay 2. Of course, I sort of split those up because that's usually the second month is when we have to do this respondus event. And then our final unit will carry the last 5 weeks out. The first 4 weeks of that last 5 weeks will be drama. That's where you're going to have your research papers. So that's going to be your essay component to that. And then your final exam will be over the dramas that we read. So the final exam is not necessarily going to be cumulative, though it could be. And I will double check to see how I set that class or set this particular class up, because last semester we were going through the changes from the old Blackboard to the new Ultra, so things could have changed around a little bit differently. But I will update this as it gets closer to the month of March. Again, my name is Patrick Wilson. This is my email account. I would probably email me. That's probably going to be the quickest way you're going to be able to get to me, because I'm basically Monday through Thursday at the Camden campus from 7:30 to 6 o'clock most evenings. Now, as it relates to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's generally the time that we as an instructors have off. So I'm not going to live on the computer or online or wherever the case may be, because like I said, I got 2 daughters, I got a wife. I do have a life just like y'all would do. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure y'all have a life as well. It's not all work and, all school. Y'all have stuff that you need to do. But if you do have something that you want me to, look at, or if you have a question, send me an email. Generally, I will get it back within a 24 to 48 hour period, depending on if there's a holiday or something's going on. But generally, I will check my email and get something back to you within, a day or two. If it's during the week, usually I will give it back to you within a 24-hour period. I mean, obviously, if you email me at 8 o'clock at night, you're probably going to have to wait to sometime the next morning to get it. If you do it at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and I'm not teaching or grading or doing anything, tutoring wise, and it's something I can really answer, chances are you get it before I leave at 6 o'clock that day. So just sort of keep that in mind. The number is my office. I mean, if you call that, you can always leave a name, number, and a message if I'm not in the office. But I think it'd probably be easier to do to obviously do the email, since I'm going to basically be on campus and I have access to the computer and the email. I will have to change my tutoring times here. So by the end of this week, I should have those all ironed out. I'm going to have 2 days right now that I can tell you verbally. Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to have in-person tutoring in room 1214 or 1216 at the Camden Center from 3:30 to 4:30. Now, if you come during that time, keep in mind, there's going to probably be nearly 30 students from 1101, because that's going to be my TRF, have 2 groups of TRF students, and that's sort of their study hall. So if you do come in, just kind of keep in mind, you may or may not have a place to sit, but we may be able to use a room close by, because I can't leave these guys unsupervised. But that's one thing that you can do. You can come in person if that's easier, especially if you live in Camden. The other 2 days, Tuesday and Thursday, I will do something, what I call virtual tutoring, mainly by appointment, which I'll basically be using this Team or WebEx program, and I can send you a link. That's going to be from 9:15 to 10:15. I know some of y'all that are dual enrollment might not be able to do that because you're in high school. Some of y'all may be working. Again, that's going to be probably more or less by appointment. You don't have to do it every week. If you do have, something that you want to do, If you want to do a session, you don't have to stay the full hour. If it's just something you want to, ask a couple questions, whatever the case may be, we can set something up and I can send you the link and you can click on that and we can go from there. Otherwise, once I get my office hours up, you can always visit me during my office hours, or we can do something via Teams, via Office as well if need be. Again, email might be the easiest um, way of communication at this point. Here again is the course learning outcomes. Again, I'm not going to read through all these because I know that you know how to read. Classroom procedures. This really is not going to partake to you so much because this is a strictly 7-day a week online course. It's not a hybrid. It's not a 2-day or a 3-day a week in-person course. So you can kind of go through the attendance requirement, the distance education stuff. Here's how the grades are going to be determined, right? 10-point increment, 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C. These are probably the 2-letter grades you don't want to get, D or F, 60 to 69 or 0 to 59. I do round up grades at the end of the semester, meaning if you have let's say you have an 87.6, then I'm going to round that up to be an 88. But let's say that you have a 69.2, then I'm going to round that down to a 69. So if it's 0.5 or higher, I'll round it up to the nearest whole number. If it's 0.4 or lower, you're going to go down to the nearest whole number. It just makes it easier to do the grade. And let me change my trash. I know I'll have to do that here momentarily. So give me a minute and I'll be right back with you. Well, he went down the way, so I got a couple of minutes. Hopefully, by the time he comes back by, we'll be done with this. So what I'm getting at is as it gets closer to midterm, which would be about week 8, that would be 2 months into our semester. If you got a 69 or lower, you probably want to do some soul searching and consider dropping the course, either taking it again in the summer or taking it again in the fall. Now, anything that you take in the summer is going to be a 10-week long course. So just sort of keep that in mind. It's like doing 2 weeks worth of work in one week. If you wait until the fall again, then you'll have a full 15 weeks. Again, if this is your first time online, you're probably going to realize within probably by the end of the month that whether you like online courses or not. Some folks do because they're self-motivated. They know what they need to do. Other folks think that online courses are easier because they're online, and a lot of times online courses are not any easier. It's better for you to be in person, honestly, especially if you need that sort of feedback between instructor and student. But you'll probably learn within the next 2 weeks which platform you like, whether you like in-person, hybrid, or strictly online. Now we have MSA, which are major stake assignments. Collectively, these are 80%. So as you can tell, the fiction exam, 10%, fiction essay, 11, midterm poetry. I will give a essay, part of that's going to be 12%. The exam's going to be 14. You have the research paper, 18%, and then final exam, 15. Again, that's 80. All the other little low stake assignments, quizzes, weekly responses, discussion, stuff that's not an exam, a respondents event, final exam, or a major paper is going to be collectively 20%, which equals up to about 100%. Usually with this particular course, because it is a sophomore level English course, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of extra credit. If I do any extra credit, if time allows, it's going to be sort of happening after midterm when we get into the research aspect of the course. I may drop one of your low stake assignments, but again, this is college level. What I would suggest is that you do the best you can and get the highest grades you can within that first 8 or 9 week period. That way you have a little bit of cushion. And if you are doing what you need to do, turning stuff in on time, asking questions, sending me drafts, coming to tutoring sessions, whether in person or virtual or using tutoring.com, there's going to be no need for you to really need extra credit because you're going to be doing what you need to do anyway. We will talk about academic cheating, but you can kind of read it through here. We also talk about the falsification of records. And really, the big thing that we have is plagiarism. That's, copying and pasting without giving proper citations, right? Using MLA 9 to cite stuff, a works cited page, copying and pasting from a website, buying a paper, borrowing an old paper, using AI. We're going to talk a lot about that. If you can use AI, we can use AI as well to figure out whether you're writing papers. We have programs that will check to see if you are using AI to write papers. So really, this is the deal. If you get caught cheating, plagiarism, buying a paper, borrowing a paper, rewriting, using an old paper for an old English class, whatever the case may be, it's going to run through some programs. One is going to check for plagiarism, and the other is going to start checking for AI. If you get caught, it's at 0, first offense. Get caught again, you're going to fail the class, and we're going to have to go before a panel to determine whether you are suspended for a couple semesters, couple years, or if you're just barred from the college. So it's not smart either way that you do it. I will say that each 0 that you make in the course will drop you down 20 points from your semester average. So let's say that everybody right now has 100. Let's say for whatever reason, Bob just doesn't want to do nothing for the next 3 weeks. He gets 3 zeros. Well, I just said they're 20 points apiece. So that's 60 points. You can do the math, 100 from 60. Now when Bob comes back, if he decides to come back the first week of February or so, his grade is going to be a 40. I can tell you pretty much if your grade is 59 or lower, it's going to be hard to bring that grade up to a 70, especially as we go from January to February to March, because we're not going to have that many assignments when we get closer to March for you to collect a whole bunch of zeros. So early on, the grades are probably going to be up and down a little bit, depending on what you make week to week. They're going to start stabilizing about the time we get back from spring break. So that's why I say if you're failing, if you get a D or lower as we get to March 8th, March 9th, about the time midterm happens, and there's just no way you think you can pull that up to a 70 or higher, I would probably go ahead and think about withdrawing from the class. And the deal about withdrawing is I can't withdraw you. You have to start the process on your end, meaning if you're dual enrollment, you're going to have to talk to your high school counselor, high school coordinator with college, get the process paperwork going. If you're not a dual enrollment student, you're going to have to come to the college, to the register, and start the process, because once you start the process and fill out the paperwork on your end, a web link will be sent to my email account prompting me to start my half of it. So if you email me and say, hey, I want to withdraw from your class, that's great. I'm sorry that you have to, but I can't do anything until you start the process first. And you definitely don't want to forget about that. And we get to May 7th and you never dropped and your grade went from 100 to a 0. Then I might have to give you the F, and the F is going to have to stay because you didn't go through the proper process of withdrawing yourself. So sort of keep that in mind. And that's not just for my class, that's for every class that you decide to withdraw. The downside about withdrawing is it's going to put time on your graduation. Meaning if you withdraw this class, basically you're going to add 4 more months to your graduation deadline. If you withdraw 2 classes, it's going to be, 8 months. So now you're about a year out. So let's say that you wanted to graduate next year. Well, if you withdraw 2 classes in English and math, now you might as well say it's going to take you 2 years to graduate, because you're going to have to probably repeat and take those classes before you can graduate. And that doesn't really matter if you transfer, because a lot of places you're going to need 1101, 1102 English. You're going to need college algebra. So if you transfer to Valdosta, Emory, or anywhere out of state, you're still going to need English 1101, 1102, and at least college algebra to be able to graduate from any program. So sort of keep that in mind. Copyright notice, you can kind of look at that. Students with disabilities, again, you have to go through the proper channels. You want to look at this handbook, click on the information. You need to get doctor's notes, that type stuff, and go through the proper channels for the college for I to be able to accommodate you. You can't just say, well, I'm a high school student. I have X amount of time on test. I have this plan. That's all fair and well, but if the college doesn't have that stuff already documented, I can't do nothing but just say, hey, talk to the people at the college that you need to bring your paperwork to. I can't give you extra time just because you're getting extra time now in 11th grade. There's a process protocol that you have to go through. This is tutor.com. Again, if we offer a class here, generally there's a tutor there. You can click on that. You can pretty much use that 24/7. Where I would definitely use that would probably be on the weekends when the college is closed, because again, we're only Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 6. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we will be closed, so there won't be nobody really here. So I would use the tutor.com at that point. You can upload your essays. They can, look at your work, look at your drafts. You can tell them what you really want them to focus on. Generally, if you do it early on, like you don't wait until 4 hours before your papers due. If you do it a couple of days before, or I would say at least a good week before your paper is due, generally depending on how busy they are, because they don't just cater to us, they cater to other colleges and universities. And depending on what's going on, whether it's a midterm or a final type deal, if give them a paper, let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning, generally by, 4 or 5 o'clock that same afternoon, you should have some feedback. And I would use them maybe and me when it comes closer to, looking at drafts of that first paper, that second paper, that type stuff. I will warn you, I think you are limited to like 10 free hours. Um, After that, they may start to try to charge you, which I don't want that to happen. So that's why I say I wouldn't go on there and use it for every single thing, but I would definitely use it during the time that, you can't have an in-person session or a virtual session, or, you can't email me because it's the weekend and I may not get back to you as fast as you want me to, that type deal. You can read about the guaranteed library services, campus security. If you're online, you probably don't really need any of these numbers, but you can kind of jot them down in case you are traveling to other campuses. We are Title X, equal opportunity statement. You have different deals here. This is sort of the course schedule. Again, when I say modular, I mean week. When I say week, I mean modular. This sort of corresponds with what I'm going to show you here momentarily throughout your Blackboard. I think really what you need to be focusing on, again, would be the deadlines, which as you can tell are right here. And if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We roughly have about 11 assignments, give or take. There's probably going to be some discussion assignments in there that are not showing up yet. So you're probably going to have close between 11 and 15 assignments, give or take. And that's it. No more, no less. I'm not going to add too much more. I'm not going to take away too much more. And again, for the most part, these deadlines are sort of in stone right now, unless I, email or send an announcement out that says otherwise. You will basically have, it looks like Sunday deadlines. And what I mean by Sunday deadlines, I mean by 11:59 p.m. Sunday. So by the time when it hits midnight Monday, the Dropbox is going to go away and it's going to automatically grade that assignment, because if there's nothing there, there's nothing I can grade, and it's going to be a 0. As it relates to late work, I don't like taking up late work. Why? Well, because I got 4 other classes. I do have a good bit of students in those other classes, and we're all adults here. Whether you're a dual enrollment student, when you sign up for a college class, you're especially a sophomore level English class like this one is, we consider you an adult. So I don't have time to hear a bunch of the excuses. Hey, I got, I couldn't do it because I'm too tired, or I had cheerleading practice or baseball practice or whatever the case may be. We all are busy outside of school and work. Um, I've heard a lot of these sad stories, sob stories for the last 10 years. And a lot of times when I, give somebody that extra mile, they want to sort of keep taking advantage of it. It's the same person doing the same stuff all over and over again. So deadlines, you know when they are because you can see them here in the syllabus. You can go back. We looked at them in the calendar section. Deadlines are what they are unless I tell you officially via email, announcements, video. So when I say something is due on the 19th, which is this Sunday by 11:59, I mean it's due by the 19th, 11:59. I'm not going to take it on the 20th. I'm not going to take it on the 29th. You either turn it in by the due date or just know that you take a 0 and we're moving on. Hopefully you don't get 2 more because by then you're going to have a 40 in the class. This week, the deadline is really important because it's verification attendance as well. You can't just log in the Blackboard and say, oh, hey, I'm here. You got to turn something in by Sunday of this week. If not, come Tuesday, because again, Monday is a holiday. Come Tuesday morning, if you do not turn something in, I'm going to assume that you are a no-show for the course, and I'm going to go ahead and drop you. I'm going to put you as a no-show, and the register will withdraw you from the course probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So keep that in mind. Please turn, if you want to stay in the class, please turn something in by 11:59 this Sunday. Otherwise, you're probably going to be dropped. So that's our deadlines. Again, the discussion board stuff, because there's more stuff to do between the 23rd and the 27th, right? The 23rd of March and the 27th of April. It's not popping up, but it will as it gets closer to those dates. All right, let me back out of here because I'm going to show you about the modulars, and then we're going to sort of end it for this week. So I'm going to pull that back down. As you can tell, modular 1, week 1, modular 2, week 2, modular 3, week 3. Everything is sort of visible. So you can find information by clicking these downward arrows. Like here, this is for next week. This would be for week 3. So if you want to work ahead, you can. I would only do that if you feel comfortable about what you're doing. Like here, next week for all purposes, I mean, we don't have Monday, so it could be sort of a shorter week for most folks. But if you feel confident because you've done week 1 work, go ahead and start week 2. At least, I mean, you can probably do the readings and watch the videos if nothing else. But the thing is, again, I wouldn't go too far if you don't know what you're doing. But at the same time, I wouldn't drag and just, continually, because I mean, I'm giving you, weeks, days to do some of the reading, to do some of the stuff. And it's not really lengthy reading, honestly, if you use your time wisely. So if you click here where it says modular lessons, readings, and assignments, this is where when you see these page numbers, this goes back to your e-textbook that I showed you earlier. We look at the elements of literature. You click on these hyperlinks. It's going to take you to various pages that deal with some of the, the lingo, the jargon that we use as English or literary critics. Watch these videos would probably be the best thing to do. From there, if you're still having issues, and you can blow these videos out. Like if you hit play, there's going to be like a little box here. You can make it bigger, that type deal. If you're still needing information, right, after watching these videos and looking at these hyperlinks, then go to your e-text and read these pages. So you're really having 3 different ways to get sort of the same information. That's going to be a way to sort of remember it. Again, some folks like to hear it, like to see it visually. Some folks need to see the visual and the hearing and still kind of read it. That's fine. This is the Chopin piece, The Story of an Hour. This gives you a little bit more details. This is going to take you to the actual story. You will find it in our book, though. If you click down, this is your e-text. You may have to search for the page number here. Let's see. It's going to be on page 853. So if you go up here and put 853, let's see what it does. I think that doesn't work for us too well. Well, close. We're at 848. As you can tell, the number's a little bit different. So we're just going to have to scroll down. That's the first Kate Chopin story. We're not having to read that. This is the one that we're having to read. And as you can tell for this week, it's really relatively short. It's only barely even 2 pages. If you go scroll down below this, you're going to see the lecture video that I did a couple hours ago that sort of goes a little bit deeper into some of the elements. I look at particular key passages and quotations. So that will, I hope, kind of help you when it comes to doing this week's assignment. So once I get this video uploaded, it will also join this one here. If we go back and go here, it says Modular 1, grading assignment, writing critique. Again, it seemed like four or five students have already done this. Again, you want to keep it in MLA 9 format. This is the question, right? How is the theme of the story of the hour controversial, or Kate Chopin creates a theme of freedom in her short story? How does she do it? What are the literary devices used to fulfill her objectives? So again, you have about 5 more days to do it. You want to have, within 250 words. That's about a good page. If you can answer the question or questions a little less than that, that's fine. Just make sure that it's more than one sentence, obviously, or more than 2 sentences. If you find yourself getting to page 2 or 3 and you keep going, you want to stop. You're telling me too much, because there's not that much here really to answer. And again, if you go to Microsoft Word, you have your free copy of Word in your Office 365. It's part of your apps. But if you want to really get a good template to use for your MLA style, you just hit New. And generally here you can search for a template. So I can put in MLA or MLA. And if I hit, it's going to give me 2 different types. Either one will work, the 9th edition or the research paper. I'm going to go ahead and hit the 9th edition. I'm going to click on this. It's going to pull up a paper. You can read through this to get a little bit more understanding of MLA 9 if you haven't really mastered it from 1101, which I hope that you do, or that you did. But we're not going to need all this information. What you're going to have to do is, I would probably get rid of this part of it. You're still going to need the work or works cited. Remember, if it's works, you're going to have multiple works here. If it's just one work, which you should just have the story of the hour, it's going to be, should be just work. So I'm just going to do it like this for right now. I may do it this way. But we're going to go back up. And as you can tell, we have the student's first, last name. Here you can change the name. You can do Mr. Wilson. You can do Instructor Wilson. You can do Professor Wilson, however you want to do it. Again, abbreviate, of course, English. And then I'd put the date that the thing is due. And you can say 1/1/19/25. You need to have a title. You could have a subtitle if you want, but you definitely need to have some sort of a title. Last name and page number needs to be up there. Sometimes you have to go and insert that. You go to insert and then you go to page number. You want to use top of page, and then you want to use plain number 3 to do it. So when you click on that, you're just going to type in, the one's already going to be there. You're just going to type in your, whatever your last name is. In this case, I'm just going to use the same person. Do a space, hit the close header and footer. So your header and your footer stuff and your title should be good. And then you just start typing. If you delete all this stuff, everything should stay in. It really needs to be Times New Roman 12. So what you can do is you can highlight all this stuff. And you're going to delete the stuff that you don't need. So like this, I'm deleting it. I'm going to keep the works cited because I probably will need that at some point. Well, hold on. I deleted everything on me. All right, go ahead and change this. Make sure this is 12. This is going to be Times New Roman. And then you can go to your file if you want. Let's see, layout, go to margins, make sure it's normal, 1 inch around, which it is. I would delete everything from here down to that works cited page. And when you do, it's still going to stay Times New Roman and everything's going to be double spaced. Keep in mind that each time you begin a new paragraph, you need to tab once to create the indentation. You don't want to have things left aligned. You don't want to have things centered. I see a lot of this. I do this like that. Everything is centered. You don't want that. It looks silly. And I can tell that you're doing it just by looking up here. Or you do this, you make everything right aligned. Don't want to do that. You want to kind of keep it left aligned, and then you want to do the indentation. The other thing is, don't do this, especially when you have to write longer papers. I see folks do. Oh, he said double, but here I'm gonna play around with him. I'm gonna change it to multiple, and I'm gonna do 2.5. And it looks like it, it's obviously it's doubled, and it does add a little bit of length. But again, I can click on your paragraph to see that you are changing, you're going from multiple to 2.5. The same thing with the fonts. A lot of times, if you are sort of short word count, and I can look down here how many pages you get, how many words you get, just like you can. They will play around with this font to make it look a lot larger. Because I used to be a student and we used to do this stuff all the time too. So they use like this format or this particular font. And as you can tell, I can click here and see that it's a different type of font. So just follow instructions. Don't get to the point where you're losing points for really easy fixes. And a lot of right now, a lot of stuff that you can get, you shouldn't be losing points on is the stuff that you've already learned from 1101 English class, or at least you should have. Otherwise, let me see. I think that's pretty much, and then you'd probably have to follow the instructions, save it as a Microsoft Word, and then attach it, that type deal. This originality report, that's what I was talking about. It's going to check to see about the plagiarism. It's going to give you a percentage. Chances are you want to have that percentage between 0 and 10. That means things of you didn't really plagiarize or cheat, copy or paste, use AI. If that number gets closer to 100%, then we really need to look at it, because that's telling me that you have some plagiarism going on, whether it's AI usage, whether it's copy and paste. Something's going on and it's flagging it for a reason. So be wary of that number. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of this week. I hope your other classes are going well. Email me if you have any concerns or issues as we move ahead. Like I said, next week, the video will probably be toward the end of the week. Probably Wednesday or Thursday. It could be a little earlier. I definitely probably don't expect anything Monday because we're all going to be off. But just let me know. I can't read minds. So if there's something going on, you need to let me know before I grade something. If you don't understand something, that type deal. Because otherwise, once I grade it, it's already, once the grade is recorded, that's it, right? We're not going to do a whole lot of redos. Probably not going to do any redos, rewrites, makeup work. Unless you just have to, surgery, if you got something from a doctor, a lawyer, or something of that nature, something that I can verify that's not Granny signing you a note or your dog signing a note. Generally, I don't do the makeup work. Generally, I don't do the late work. If there's certain circumstances that you know that you can't avoid, email me. We can talk one-on-one. We can kind of work out something. That's why a lot of these drop boxes are up ahead of time, because you can always turn in work earlier. I would rather you turn work in earlier than not at all, because again, each 0 that you make is going to drop you down 20 points. So if, let's say you get a 0 on this thing on Sunday, technically you go from 100 to an 80, but if you don't turn anything in this week, that's going to be your verification purposes. So you're going to be a no-show. But let's just say hypothetically we move on. Let's say the following Sunday you don't turn anything in for whatever reason. So now you go from again another 20 points, 80 from 20. Now you're out of 60. So by then we're going into the Super Bowl. And of course, nobody wants to do anything on the Sunday because of the Super Bowl. And I may change that date a little bit just because it is Super Bowl. And I know everybody's going to be busy. Um, but let's just say that you don't turn anything that third Sunday. Well, that's 3 zeros. You're already at a 40. There's probably no way that you're going to be, and you get 2 more, you're going to be at a 0. We stop at a 0, but technically you'd be getting closer into the negative numbers if we gave negative numbers. But by the time, like I said, by the time you get 59 or lower, especially this early on, it's going to hurt later as well. But early on, where so much that you do is going to count until your grade starts to really stabilize, it's going to be disastrous, and it's just going to cause you a headache. So again, I would only, realize that online courses are, you get out of them what you put in them. This is not, if you're thinking, hey, this is going to be easy. I've had online English courses before, didn't work so hard. You're going to work on this one. It's easy to get a D and F, just don't do anything. C is pretty easy to get as long as you just sort of go by the minimum, but to get an A and a B, you're going to have to work a little harder. I don't just give out grades. You earn what you deserve what you earn. So if you come in this attitude and this way of, I'm just going to coast on by because that's what I did in 11th and 12th grade, fine, coast on by. You may get a C, you may get an F. Again, I'm not going to give out grades just because you log in every week and, you sort of email me a little bit here or there. You're going to have to earn your A's and B's in there. Otherwise, I hope everybody has, like I said, a good rest of your week. Stay warm, stay dry. Next week, I think it's supposed to be cooler again. So we'll see how things go. Otherwise, just keep checking your email, every other day or whatever. Check the announcements and don't let things, don't wait until the last minute, procrastinate and let things get ahead of you, because at that point, it's going to seem overwhelming, especially if you got multiple classes, you got jobs, you got kids, you got other things going on outside, church, that type deal. Otherwise, have a great week. I will see you and talk to you with another video next week.